When asked about a prison therapy program, one inmate by the name of Gus said, "I didn't agree about seeing men cry in front of me until about a month went by, and I had to tell my stories, and I was in tears because we knew we all had something in common. We all felt that if we don't transition to a new man and really understand what it is to eradicate that criminal thought and behavior, we're all probably going to die in prison." Life in an American prison is often a very obscured and misunderstood topic. As someone who would like to become a correctional psychologist someday, I have researched the American prison system for quite some time. Through research, I found that there are many misconceptions regarding life in an American prison, specifically about violence, regulations, and the effects that these factors have on prisoners. Despite the falsehood of many prison cliches, there is one stereotype that rings true: prison violence. Most prisoners are subject to violence and discrimination throughout their incarceration. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, otherwise known as the BOP, there were about 250 counts of less serious assault per every 5,000 inmates in June of 2018. The BOP also found that there were approximately 20 counts of serious assault per every 5,000 inmates in June of 2018 as well. Unfortunately, it is people of color who suffer the brunt of this violence. Men of color, not only are men of color more likely to be incarcerated, but they continue to face that discrimination throughout their prison sentence. According to the Sentencing Project, 1 in 17 white men end up in prison, whereas 1 in 3 black men and 1 in 6 Hispanic men are incarcerated. According to a testimony on Ear Hustle, a Filipino Latino inmate said, "I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, and when I came to prison, I couldn't hang out with the people I wanted to. I actually had to choose which race or which side I wanted to hang out with, Filipinos or Mexican. I could be assaulted or I could be asked to participate in violence just to prove myself." Although chaos and violence play a large role in prison, prisoners are often kept in a strict yet productive schedule. Prison culture is based around a daily schedule and work environment. According to another testimony on Ear Hustle, "The strangest thing I've seen since I've been in prison is living in a dormitory and seeing 5 men sitting side by side doing their business, carrying conversation with no privacy barriers or anything standing in between them." The inmate is referring to the constrained living quarters that inmates are forced to live under. The average cell size is 6 by 8 feet and includes 2 middle beds, a toilet, a desk, and a sink. Inmates are allowed no more than 6 cubic feet of property, and all inmates are required to work if they are physically able to, with wages ranging from 12 to 40 cents an hour. When not working, inmates have the opportunity to join rehabilitative programs. According to the BOP, all institutions offer literacy classes, ESL, parenting classes, wellness education, adult continuing education classes, library services, and instruction and leisure time activities. Psychologists are also available for group and individual therapy. Thus, contrary to popular belief, prisoners rarely ever lounge around in their cells. Most maintain a very busy schedule. Despite efforts to provide rehabilitative programs, however, the conditions that prisoners are forced to be under often lead to negative psychological effects. For instance, it is believed that 20% of inmates suffer from some form of serious mental illness. According to Alyssa Roth, author of Insane America's Criminal Treatment of Mental Illness, about half of America's prisoners suffer from some sort of mental illness. According to the Treatment Advocacy Center, suicide is the leading cause of death in correctional facilities, and multiple studies indicate that as many as half of all inmate suicides are committed by the 15 to 20% of inmates with mental illness. When asked about the mental health system in San Quentin State Prison, one inmate said, "I'm actually seeing a psychologist once a month, and she had to stop seeing me because there was an increase of inmates here, and they had to be doing some sort of divvying up because the case overloads got so high." Pardon me. Although, despite opportunities to thrive within the criminal justice system, exposure to violence and discrimination often leads to negative effects among prisoners. To make matters worse, the general public knows very little about prison life, meaning that social and political issues are often overlooked. Gus, for instance, can recall many traumatic incidents from prison. When asked about what lay ahead for him after his release, he said, "Just take me to a high-top mountain and let me look at the Bay Area, you know. I want to get a beautiful sight on what I'm going to be faced with out there."